Okay, few tech issues getting live, but we should be live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And this presentation is the discipline advantage, driving sustainable growth in uncertain times. So this training is about how to build a greater amount of discipline, why discipline is important. I'm going to go through like some of the things that you'll get from this presentation in the next 20 minutes or so. So one of the things that we're going to go through is actually some research that myself and a partner, business partner, conducted last year, where we interviewed 26 individuals from across the venture capital and PE space, private equity space, high net worth individuals. And we'll be able to go through the missing piece of the puzzle as basically became evident from those interviews on the difference and missing piece for personal performance, which was validated, as I say, by all 26 people. You're going to be able to spot the signs and understand the impact that a lack of discipline will have on you as an individual contributor, an individual performer, and your teams as well. And I'm going to give access to the 10-step discipline advantage framework that I personally use with my top tier clients. And for those that message me afterwards, you are going to be able to get your hands on it's about £1,000 worth of bonus material that up until now, only my paying clients have had access to. I want to make that available, and I'll go through exactly what that is and why that might be of benefit to you. So hopefully, for those of you that are either tuning in live or wanting to catch this on replay, this is what you're going to get from the next 20 minutes or so. So a little bit about me as an individual, just for those of you that don't know me. I've got a background in products, particularly digital product, sales and marketing. Started my career back in 2013. So I've been working out of university now for about 11, 12 years. I've worked up to head of level for large FTSE 100 businesses. I've also then spent some time as a director in startup, scale up. And I started my coaching business, which is now a personal development, performance and leadership coaching outfit. I started that in 2019, particularly in the fitness and health space. And then I started a management or product management tech consultancy in 2022. And I now, my coaching business is now in personal development, performance and leadership coaching. And then I have a tech consultancy as well as an adjacent business. For my sins, I am a challenge enthusiast. So some of my past challenges have included a 100-mile run in under 24 hours, an Ironman, a couple of bodybuilding, physique transformations. And more recently, I'm involved in swimming, open water swimming, long distance marathon swimming, and looking to swim the English Channel in 2025. This year, the big swim that I did was called Windermere Two Ways. That's the biggest lake in England. Swam it one way over one day, and then got up and swam it back the next day, which was an experience. So there are some of the businesses that I have either worked for, consulted for, or helped build or built myself. At the bottom, you can see some of the bigger companies, O2, BT, got my teeth in telco, then went into manufacturing, electronics, operations, RS Components. I currently do some contracting and consultancy work with Eurostar, helped build the IOFBC brand from about 300K as a startup to about 1.2 mil. Turnover within the space of about 18 months, probably less, 12 to 18 months. And there are a couple of my businesses, Reignite Pro, which was a health and sort of physical health, mental health coaching business. And then PKS2, which is personal development for senior management and below. And then leadership coaching for head of director and above. So that's a bit about me. So as I said, last year, we conducted 26 interviews with people from the VC and PE space. And I wanted to highlight this because I think there's some really interesting stats on the right about business in general, particularly in the UK. And then there's some things that came out of that research, which I think are really important for businesses, founders, people within the senior leadership team of a scale-up business that is trying to become a more established outfit. So on the right, you can see that the success rate for an average first-time startup is 18%, okay? If you think about like the tech unicorns, those SaaS businesses, the kind of well-known household names, you're less than 1% chance of becoming one of those, right? We see that 75% of startups fail within the first year. And you can see there on the left, like two of the main reasons that startups fail, from certainly like a financial and people perspective. So running out of money, cash flow, and then hiring and retaining top talent is the second one. And then from a person perspective, just some of the stats there on the right. These are actually from more established businesses, these stats. But you can see there on the right that the average amount per person that is lost for poor mental health is over £2,000, right? £2,000 per person, which is just crazy, right? And then you can see 18 million days of non-productive time lost to mental health or poor performance based from mental health, stress, anxiety, depression, even presenteeism. And this was one of the revelations going through this and speaking to people and just starting to see like a red thread that went through those interviews, was that there's quite a few non-acknowledged issues. So the acknowledged ones, they have solutions out there in the market. Generally, you can get venture capital or private investors or even larger PE injections when you need to build a company and you go through different series, etc. You can get outfits to help hire and retain talent, right? But some of these non-acknowledged issues that were apparent in a number of businesses that these VCs or PEs had within their portfolios, I thought was quite startling. So founder and team mental well-being, something that startups, scale-ups are only just starting to talk about. There aren't really solutions out there for in this space that are doing this at scale, doing this well. Talent density optimization. So Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, talks about this. He talks about the rock star theory, that in software development, one engineer is worth the equivalent of 10 average engineers, right? And so you should pay them in proportion, maybe not the same as 10, but you pay them 4 or 5, and then you're still getting productivity benefits off the back of it and economies of scale. So talent density optimization for scale up businesses is a huge issue, right? So you get people in that can operate at a certain level, but as the business grows, it becomes bigger. Communication becomes more important. Diseconomies of scale creep in. You need greater leadership. Talent and retaining top talent is an issue, and having the amount of the volume of talent needed to successfully scale is an issue, and that's not necessarily being acknowledged. And then these last two, like communication and alignment around vision. So when you start a business as a founder, and having started a number of businesses myself and helped founders directly understand how important this is for the founder, right? You have a vision that is where you want to take the business. It is the ethos of that business. It is directs the mission statement. It directs the culture. It's very, very important to you. But as you start to hire people into the business, they bring in their own ways of doing things, their own thoughts. And if you're not regularly communicating the vision of your business, people will start to pull in different directions. And that is when you lose control as a leader of culture. So you lose control of the way things are done, the way people think and feel about your business. Because someone in one of these interviews said to me, and it was the most sort of articulate definition of culture, and it said something like, culture is the collective thinking and feeling of the founder or founders and their senior leadership team or teams, right? Collective thinking and feeling, or collective psychology. And so if you're not telling people within your business how you think and feel, states of behavior, expectations, etc., then you're leaving it up to them on how they think they should behave, and how they think and feel, and they're building their own culture. So communication around the vision is incredibly important to make sure that the whole team, as you scale and more people come into the business, is moving in the same direction. And then, linked to that, consciously building the company culture. So this is important because I'm going to link back to some of these reasons and why discipline is important with these a little bit later. So this quote, I love this quote. This for me sums up discipline. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. We all have stresses, we all have trials and tribulations, we all have responsibilities, but it is he who is able to master that, his own thoughts, his own feelings, and build a layer of resilience that is able to navigate life and its trials and tribulations most effectively. And Confucius says this here: he who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. And I like this quote as well to do with discipline. So I think self-discipline is something, it's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. And that's from Daniel Goldstein. Right. And I just love that. It's like I can just imagine him sort of sitting there and saying, you know, I think it's like a muscle. The more you exercise, the stronger it gets. And that's exactly what it is, right? So neuroscientists have actually discovered there is a part of your brain which grows as you practice and become more disciplined. And that part of the brain is called the mid-cingulate cortex, or the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And you effectively build willpower and mental toughness as you start to push yourself through challenges and doing what you don't want to do. So as an example, I'll give you an example today, right? Because I was doing some work this morning, I missed my training session to go swimming. Okay. Now, I didn't want to make time to go at lunch. There was plenty of other things I could have been doing. I wasn't going to have time to get a proper lunch, but I went anyway, right? And I was doing sprints. Bloody hate sprints. Don't mind swimming. Put me swim as far as possible, but sprints horrendous. But I did that anyway, right? So by doing things that you don't want to do, you're actually building this part of the brain. And the reason why this is important is as this part, studies have shown that as this part of the brain starts to increase in size, so things like willpower, mental toughness actually become easier, okay? And the second part here is mental resilience. So as we choose discomfort and overcome adversity, they can lead to physical changes in the brain, right? Physical hormonal changes in the brain, resulting in mental resilience. And what I take from this, it's not written here, but what I take from this is we need to find ways to suffer so that we can become more disciplined. But if we find ways that are so horrendous to suffer, we're never going to do that action or take that action again. So therefore, we're going to miss out on that improvement in discipline. So how can we find ways to control the suffering through small, regular, consistent doses so that discipline, like a muscle, grows over time, becomes easier over time, and becomes part of our DNA in how we live our lives, how we build our businesses, how we encourage other people to act within our businesses? How do we do that, right? Because that sounds like a much easier way than doing something that's so horrendous straight off the back that you just never want to go back again. So just before we get into that, I want to just highlight what happens if you don't have discipline. And there'll be people watching this that say, well, I know what happens if I don't have discipline. There's a whole host of things that can happen, but I'm going to highlight from working with clients now in senior management all the way up to C-suite, how this impacts you, particularly in the workplace, particularly impacts your performance. So there's 4 key areas. The first one is brain fog. And the 3 things that can regularly cause brain fog, or most of the time, in my experience, have caused brain fog, have been poor nutrition. So not being conscious of what you're eating, how much you're eating, the type and quality of food that you're eating, whether it's got adequate micronutrients that are going to help your body with its with a number of its systems, or whether you're getting the right amount of micronutrients, supplementation, etc. The second part that can also lead to brain fog is inadequate sleep. Now, we all are slightly different here, but research has shown that we all need between 7 to 9 hours sleep per 24-hour sleep cycle. And generally, the best time to sleep is when the sun goes down. our melatonin and serotonin increases, our cortisol decreases, we start to get ready for sleep. And then in the morning, we wake up, maybe let's say 6 o'clock, that's an 8-hour sleep window, okay, as the sun rises. Now, there's obviously seasonality in here, but if you're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep consistently and you're experiencing brain fog, that is the biggest lever you've got, or one of the biggest levers you've got to look at improving that, because brain fog does impact your productivity, right? It does impact how much you can get done in a day and how you feel about yourself as well. Inefficient structure is another one. So if you have, I hear a lot of people that say, oh, I'm constantly content switching, right? And if you haven't practiced content switching, so when people say this to me, it's like, I don't feel this, because I can go from a coaching call on personal development to a coaching call on business consultancy to a team meeting on product management and consultancy. That doesn't phase me, right? And I can do that with, a minute or two in between. Now, that only comes from regular practice of doing that. But if you have a structure where you haven't trained your brain to be able to do that, and you've got back-to-back meetings of different topics, that is an inefficient way of spreading your time, particularly if you're in control of those meetings. You're the business owner, you're part of the leadership team that sets the governance and weekly cadence schedule of meetings, etc. So inefficient structure is something that can lead to brain fog. And this can be sorted out through, again, just looking at your diary and starting to move meetings aligned to A, your energy, B, outcomes, and putting maybe some breaks in between. Right, so these are 3 things that can lead to brain fog. Another thing that impacts a lack of discipline is a lack of work or life balance. And this is generally derived from poor boundary setting. So I'm working with a client at the moment who we went through a values exercise, and one of his key core values is his family. But he also, likes and enjoys his job. Career is important to him. And so he's not setting a clear line and division between his work and his family. And so his family is getting his family isn't getting the best version of him. Imposter syndrome, right, is a third one here. And this is characterized by feelings of inadequacy, lacking a specific skill set, not making decisions quickly, putting off the big decisions, not being able to say no, or feeling like you're the only one that can get something done. Okay. Now, imposter syndrome tends to appear more and more the more responsibility you take on in an organization, and the more senior you get. Right? People start to doubt that they have the skills. They start to worry about, are they making the right decision? So this is something that generally, in my experience, it can appear at any level, but generally appears director level and above, particularly when you get into C-suite. And then procrastination. And this is caused by a lack of clear vision, lack of desire, and inability to focus, and poor structure. So what is the discipline advantage? Well, the discipline advantage is a new system that is designed to give you predictable performance results in an increasingly uncertain situations, right? And I'm going to go through each of the steps that form the framework. So the discipline advantages, the first one is direction, right? If you don't know the direction that you personally are going in, and particularly your business is going in, it becomes very difficult to get other people bought into it. So the first step is to get very clear on your vision. I do this with my clients by setting a number of examples, and I'm going to give you access to some of these at the end. There's a set process, but one of the exercises that we do is setting a 3-year personal vision with 6-month, 18-month, and 3-year goals aligned to it, and then translating that into either a business mission or vision statement, or if you work for someone else, turning that into a career map and template. So that's the first sort of section. The second one is then introspection, aligning your life and vision to your core values to make sure that the things that matter most to you, you can see they are served by achieving your vision, because then you're pulled towards it and it doesn't feel like you have to have a slog constantly to take actions that you don't really want to. The third part then is structure. So building your day and your weeks aligned to your values, your energy levels, and optimizing your time effectively. Time and time again, I hear people that say, oh, I've got half-hour meetings between, or half-hour breaks between meetings, and I just, seem to whittle away at the time. Or I find myself on Slack trying to, keep abreast of what the team is doing. So many people at all levels get stuck in the the operations of running a business, that they forget to actually take a step back and work on the business rather than in it. And as you become more senior, it's increasingly important to spend more and more time on the strategy, the vision, the leadership, and the communication, those other areas outside of operations. But people get pulled into operations a lot of the time because that's what they know. Clarify. With clear goals, we set measurable KPIs. So this is kind of coming down from the vision, aligning to the values. We then set goals and measurable KPIs and milestones. Now, this can be both in a personal perspective, but also a business perspective as well as you scale. Imminence, and I did a post about this today, right? Imminence is just introducing a sense of urgency to what you do, right? Sorry, guys, a little technical glitch there. Hold on, let me just pop back. There we go. Okay. Cool, yeah, so imminence, introducing a sense of urgency into what you do. Perception, increasing your awareness or your conscious awareness of your own thoughts and actions. So becoming aware of what you do, why you do it, right? Losing the comfort. So I called this controlled uncomfort. So for a lot of clients, this might be introducing a morning routine that involves cold exposure and some morning movement to start with, right? So doing things that is uncomfortable for them, but starts to layer in a discipline through habitually doing the same thing over and over again. So it's gradually losing those comforts. Back to that point that I made at the beginning, it's like if you do something so uncomfortable straight off the bat, you're not going to do it again, right? So if I was to get one of my clients to sit in an ice bath for 10 minutes with 20 kilos of ice straight off the bat, they wouldn't be able to do that. Most people wouldn't be able to do that. But if you build up with cold showers every 30 seconds, for 30 seconds to 1 minute to 2 minutes to 5 minutes, you can control the level of uncomfort and you can build in a layer of resilience and discipline. Intensity then. This is achieved through accountability, right, and focus. So being very clear on what it is that you are going to do and prioritize, and increasing the level of intensity and expectations assigned to that, both to yourself and in the short term, perhaps to an external party. New challenges. This is where we can accelerate the level of uncomfort that you can tolerate through challenge. And I'm a big proponent of this. Right? As I said at the beginning, I'm a challenge enthusiast. And I know that from a mental and psychological perspective, some of my biggest growth has come from being in the trenches in a white-collar boxing match, for example, where I'm counted to 6 on the canvas and about to lose and throw in the towel, and I get up anyway, and I just go for it in the second round, right? Just trying to survive. Third round, right? I come out and I win, right? Only because I had more in the tank than the other guy, but I only was able to do that by hanging on. Right, in the Ironman, I got a puncture in one of my tires. I was out for an hour and ran for like a mile and a half with a bike on my back, basically. So accelerating the uncomfort through challenge, that gives you some of the psychological. David Goggins calls this the cookie jar, things that you can tap into when you're experiencing hard times in other areas of your life. It builds in that mental resilience, and for me, this is coupled to the loosening of comforts, right? Controlled uncomfort. So you can start here by introducing yourself to slightly uncomfortable situations. And then through challenges, generally physical challenges, but it can be sort of mental ones as well. I had a client who, whilst he was in a directorship, studied an MBA. We'll talk about him in a minute, Chris. He was able to push himself, right, to achieve a huge amount by introducing some of these other elements from the discipline advantages. And the last part then, elevate. Prioritizing it and accelerating outcomes, making sure that you know what the top 2 or 3 big rocks to focus on are. And that allows you to then accelerate the outcomes, building discipline into what you focus on and what you say yes to, and equally what you say no to. So a couple of benefits of the discipline advantage. So better mental well-being, clarity of purpose, energy, and alignment to your vision. Improved productivity and talent density from both the founder and the key players. And that translates generally into better bottom line revenue and profitability. And banishing feelings of imposter syndrome, a renewed confidence and accelerated pace and predisposition towards taking effective action. So if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I was talking about some of the things that came out from that venture capitalist and private equity research findings. These are some of the benefits of the discipline advantage, and you can see there's a red thread that ties to the unknown elements that just aren't being addressed, right? So this discipline advantage really is a solution for those founders that have a scaling business that want to make sure that they're not just throwing everything into just business, taking a Steve Jobs or an Alex Hormozy approach, but they've got other commitments as well, their family, their health. They want to put everything into the business, but make sure it grows sustainably, right? In the uncertain environment that we exist in. Right? This is how they can have that balance. How the system served me, just very briefly. So this is helped me align my own vision of where I want to take my life. It's helped me become more conscious of my values and purpose, and improves my overall fulfillment level, or another term for this is maybe sort of self-actualization. Okay, it's allowed me to balance operating 2 businesses, as I mentioned at the beginning, whilst training for the English channel and being a dad. And it's significantly enhanced mental resilience, ability to focus, prioritize, and effectively get more done. Couple of clients who have implemented this system, and then what are the outcomes that they've gotten from that. So Ed, founder of The Legal Director, I met him probably just over a year ago, about a year ago, something like that. And we've worked together for about 8-9 months. And during that time, Ed was able to build a new vision for himself, timelines and strategy for exiting from his business. So his business had been going for 18, 20 years, something like that. But by his own admission, it becomes sort of cozy club with some of his other co-founders, co-owners of the business. And the business was stagnating, wasn't growing at the pace that he wanted it to. So by starting to put a vision in place, by starting to get clear on the exit strategy from that business, and then starting to structure the steps that he needed to take and the other founders needed to take, we were able to generate some of these outcomes. So he transitioned into from an operational CEO into a visionary chairman type role, and one of the other people within the business stepped into that CEO type role. He had imposter syndrome, and we were able to work through that. And the way we did that was identifying opportunities to make accelerated decisions, looking for ways where he can drive transformative change and making sure there's accountability to that, reinforcing a sense that he can say no and doesn't have to do everything, and then delegation as a default. These were 4 things that he wasn't doing before, which was causing him to have significant imposter syndrome. When we started doing these things, the imposter syndrome reduced and was almost all but eliminated. Move from and the business, right? How did the business benefit from this? Well, it moved from stagnating growth at the sort of about 6 million mark, I think, turnover, to increasing that growth year on year significantly, with a view to get to about 12 million over the next 3 years, right? 12 million PA per annum. And that was introduced from, amongst other things, increased accountability, clear KPIs, and the bold decisions that he and the other founders started making. He also personally benefited from morning habitual disciplines, cold exposure, morning movement, to name a few, that we started to make sure were part of his day and his week. And he also was able to balance this in addition to a 330-kilometer bike ride that he completed in an insane just under 13 hours, so 12 hours plus. So, you know, successful leader of a business, family, friends, and able to train and complete this bike ride, which is, you know, a significant achievement. A couple of other guys here just to mention that have utilized this system. So Chris on the left, he is a director over at Rathbones. Since working together, he's again got a 3-year vision and career map in place that will take him to a CIO type role within a FTSE 350 firm. Now, that was not where he saw himself before starting working together and implementing the discipline advantage framework. He put a tech boundary around him because that was his background, and he didn't see himself coming out of that into a broader chief innovation officer type role. He was also able to, as I mentioned, balance young family, massively broad director role, study for an MBA with regular exercising and some socializing. And he's able to, through working on himself and introducing more discipline advantage structures, he's able to set and direct a high performance culture within the organization and lead by example. And you can see his thoughts there on the process. John, we've just finished working together, worked with John over the last 7-8 months, something like that. And you know, a couple of things. John was suffering with mental health, anxiety, low moods, and didn't really have clarity on where he was going in terms of career. He now has a much improved ability to have control over his own mental health, much more confident, calmer, and is a leader with greater degrees of clarity. He's also got clarity on what's the next role for him, his own purpose, and stronger boundaries in both his personal and his professional relationships. And you can see there again his thoughts on the discipline advantage and how this system worked for him. So, wrapping this up, guys, anyone that has watched this presentation live or has watched it on catch up and wants to take advantage of some of a part of the system, right? The clarity and vision part that basically takes you from defining a vision, defining a business vision and mission statement, aligning that to your own goals, and then having structured KPIs for those personal and professional goals. That is something that I have covered with my clients over about a month, right? And I'm going to give you access to that, which is about £1,000 worth of content. I'm going to give you access to that for free. Anyone that would like access, and this is I don't know if I'm going to do this again, because I think, you know, maybe some of the past clients, they might be kind of wondering, oh, okay, lucky people getting this for free, but they know as well as I do that it's not necessarily in the information, it's in the implementation, right? But this is a step-by-step guide, the first part of the discipline advantage framework, and I want to make it yours. I say I don't know if I'm going to do this again, but I want to make it yours for anyone that watches this training. Message me, and I will make sure that you get access to this, sort out your logins, etc., and all the training materials that go with it. So that is it for today, guys. Just want to say thank you if you watched this live. Thank you if you watched it on replay. Hopefully it's been useful. Hopefully there's some insights and frameworks in there that are novel for you. You can start to understand how it hangs together. Maybe you've started to realize, like, maybe where you could be a little bit more disciplined, or people within your team could be a little bit more disciplined, and you've got some frameworks to help with that. But if you do want to take advantage of this, let me know, reach out to me, and I will sort you out with logins. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good evening.